Very good evening, everyone. I hearty welcome to AROHAN 2024 Lecture Series 3, an unique initiative by the Higher Education Department, Government of Karnataka, to start and share the best practices adopted in the government engineering colleges across the state under the banner AROHAN 2024. So this evening, I hearty welcome Dr. T. Rangaswamy sir, Principal, Government Engineering College, Masulesali. Dr. T. Rangaswamy obtained his Bachelor of Engineering degree from Malnad College of Engineering, Hassan, in 1990. His MSc Engineering from the University of Mysore in 1997, and PhD from PSG Tech, Coimbatore in 2005. Before joining Government Engineering College, Masulesali as principal, he served at GEC Hassan from 2010 to 19, and at Malnad College of Engineering, Hassan from 1990 to 2010. His areas of interest include the composite materials and MEMs, design, optimization, FEA, and CAD/CAM. He has 86 international and national publications to his credit. He has successfully completed 3 major and 4 minor R&D grant projects sponsored by DRDO, DSD, AICTE worth 1.33 crores. Having patent on efficient VTOL ornithopter, he has also written 2 book chapters and received 2 prestigious awards from IIT Madras, Chennai and VTU Belgavi for outstanding research work. He has conducted 7 faculty development programs under AICTE and TechUp, has delivered 20 invited lectures in series in various conferences and seminars. He is a reviewer for 6 journals, guided 5 PhDs and 2 MSc Engineering scholars. He is also a visiting professor to AIT Bangkok. Sir, I heartily welcome you for this lecture session 3 for AROHAN 2024. Sir, now the room is open.
Thank you.
Present.
Thank you, Professor Rugar.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the nice introduction from Professor Rugar. Now, my today's presentation, first presentation, is writing research articles and conducting conferences. There are 2 parts in my presentation. Overview of the presentation. Am I audible, Rugar? Okay. So, writing and publishing a research paper, types of journals and review process, challenges in organizing / conducting technical conferences and seminars. Writing and publishing a research paper, it includes the following: check whether the research findings are publication ready, choose an article type, choose a journal, construct a paper, and decide the order of authors, check and double check, submit your paper. Begin with, in brief, check whether your research finding is publication ready. Have you done or found something new and interesting, something unique? Is the work directly related to current hot topic? Have you checked the latest results or research in the field? Have you provided solution to any difficult problems? Have the findings been verified? How the appropriate controls being performed if required? Are your findings comprehensive? Second, choose an article type. What type of article we need? What type of journals we need? So which journal we need to submit our research findings? So that is a major important task. Full original research papers which disseminate completed research findings. On average, this type of paper is generally 8 to 10 pages long, contains 5 to 6 figures and 25 to 30 references generally. Review papers present a critical synthesis of specific research topic. These papers are usually much longer than original papers and will contain numerous references. More often than that, they will be accompanied by journal editors. Reviews present an excellent way to solidify the research career. Letters, rapid or short communication, this is also another category, are often published for the quick and early communication of significant and original advances. They are much shorter than full articles and usually limited in length by the journal. Journals specifically dedicated to short communications. Now the third point is choose a journal. Submit to journals that you already read, that you have a good feel for. If you do so, you will have a better appreciation of both its culture, and the requirements of the editors and reviewers. Other factors to consider are the specific subject area, the aim and scope of the journal, the type of manuscript written, the significance of your work, the reputation of the journal, the reputation of the editors within the community, the editorial / review and production speed of the journal, the community served by the journal, the coverage and distribution, and the last, the accessibility, which you call it as open access versus closed access. Now the fourth point is construct your paper. How to construct the paper, right? So start with each element or part of the paper as its purpose. It has some purpose. So one should make these sections easy to index and search. Don't forget that requirements can differ highly per publication. So always make sure to apply journal specific instructions or guide for authors to your manuscript. Even to that, first draft may be text layout, paper citation, nomenclature, figures, and table, etc. It will save you time and editor's time also. Also, even in these days of internet-based publishing, space is still at a premium. So to be as concise as possible, as a good journalist, we would say never use 3 words when one will do. This is what the jargon we used to circular around. Let's look at the typical structure of a full research paper, but bear in mind certain subject disciplines may have their own specific requirements. So check the instructions for authors on the journal home page. In that, again briefly, the title, whatever the journal papers which you are planning to submit, contains a title. So it's important to use the title to tell the reader what your paper is all about, and you want to attract their attention a bit like a newspaper headline does. Be specific to the point, keep it informative and concise, and avoid jargon and abbreviations unless they are universally recognized, like DNA, for example. The abstract. This could be termed as advertisement of your article. Make it interesting and easily understood without the reader having it to read the whole article. Be accurate and specific and keep it as brief and concise as possible. A clear abstract will influence whether or not your work is considered and whether an editor should invest more time on it or send it for review process. The keywords. The keywords are used by abstracting and indexing services such that they are labels of your manuscript which make it searchable online by other researchers also. Include words or phrases, usually 48, that are closely related to your topic but not too long for anyone to find them. And make sure only use established abbreviations. Think about what scientific terms and its variations your potential readers are likely to use and search for. You can also do test run for your selected keywords in one of the common academic search engines. Do similar articles to your own appear. Yes, then that's a good sign. Now move to the introduction part. So this first part of the main text should introduce the problem as well as any existing solutions you are aware of and the main limitations. Also state what you hope to achieve with your research. Do not confuse the introduction with the results, discussion and conclusion. Methods. Every research article should include a detailed method section, also referred as materials and methods, to provide the reader with enough information to be able to judge whether the study is valid or reproducible. Include detailed information so that knowledgeable reader can reproduce the experiment. However, use references and supplementary materials to indicate previously published procedures. Results. In this section, You will present the essential or primary results of your study. To study them in a comprehensible way, you should use subheadings as well as illustrations such as figures, graphs, tables, and photos as appropriate. Discussion. Here, you should tell your readers what the results mean. Do state how the results relate to the study's aim and hypothesis, and how the findings relate to those of other studies. Explain all possible interpretations of your findings and study limitations. Do not make grand statements that are not supported by the data. Also, do not introduce any new results or items. Moreover, do not ignore work that conflicts or disagrees with your findings instead. Be brave, address conflicting study results, and convince the reader you are one who is correct. Conclusion. Your conclusion isn't just summary of what you have already written. It should take your paper one step further and answer any unresolved questions. Sum up what you have shown in your study and indicate possible applications and extensions. The main question your conclusion should answer is, what do my results mean for research field and my community? That is the very valid point. And acknowledgements and ethical statements. It is extremely important to acknowledge anyone who has helped you with your paper, including researchers who supplied materials and anyone who helped you with writing or English or offered critical comments about the content. References. The end is in sight, but don't relax just yet. De facto, there are often more mistakes in the references than in any other part of the manuscript. It is also one of the most annoying and time-consuming problems for editors also. Remember to cite the main scientific publications on which your work is based, but do not inflate the manuscript with too many references. Avoid excessive and especially unnecessary self-citations, and also avoid excessive citations of publications from the same institute or region. Decide the order of authors. This is also a very important point. In technical or sciences journals, the most common way to order the names of the authors is by relative contribution. Generally, the first author conducts and or supervises the data analysis and the proper presentation and interpretation of the results. They put the papers together and usually submit the paper to the journal. Co-authors make intellectual contributions to the data analysis and contribute the data interpretation. They review each paper draft. All of them must be able to present the paper and the results, as well as to defend the implications and discuss study limitations. Do not leave out authors who should be included or add gift authors. That is, authors who did not contribute significantly, their names should not include in your author citations. The last point is check and double check. This means, as a final step before submission, ask colleagues to read your work and be constructively critical. Make sure that paper is appropriate for the journal. Take a last look at their aims and scope. Check if all of the requirements in the instructions or authors are met. Ensure that cited literature is balanced. Are the aims, purpose and significance of the results clear? Conduct a final check for language, either by a native English speaker or an editing service. Then finally submit your paper. When you and your co-authors have double, triple, quadruple check the manuscript, submit it via email or online submission system. Along with your manuscript, submit a cover letter which highlights the reasons why your paper would appeal to the journal and which ensures that you have received approval of all authors for submission. It is up to the editors and the peer reviewers now to provide you with their ideally constructive and helpful comments and feedback. Time to take a breather. If the paper gets rejected, do not despair. It happens to literally everybody. If the journal suggests major and minor revisions, take the chance to provide thorough response and make improvements as you see fit. If the paper gets accepted, congrats. It's now time to get writing and share your hard work. Good luck. Now, all these are related to how to make your paper ready, submit to a journal. Now, which journal we have to submit my research finding? That is a very important point to be noted here. Journals and review process. The type of journals and how the review process will be done. That is a very important work. Peer-reviewed or refereed journals. Both gives the same meaning. Peer-reviewed. Most of the journal papers we used to call it as peer-reviewed or peer-refereed journals. Peer-reviewed or refereed journals have an editorial board of subject experts who review and evaluate whatever your submitted articles before accepting them for publication. A journal may be a scholarly journal, but not peer-reviewed journal. What do you mean by peer review or referee process? How it will work? An editorial board asks subject experts to review and evaluate whatever the submitted research article before accepting them for publication in a scholarly journal. Submissions are evaluated using criteria including the excellence, novelty, and significance of the research or ideas. Scholarly journals use this process to protect and maintain the quality of the material they publish. Members of the editorial board are listed near the beginning of each journal issue. Now, how to decide journal is peer-reviewed? If you are searching for a scholarly or peer-reviewed articles in a database, you may be able to limit your results to peer-reviewed articles. If you are looking at the journal itself, search for references to their peer review process, such as in an editorial statement or a section with instructions to the authors. One can check the entry for a journal in the library catalog. Many journal records will have a note in the description section, for example, to say refereed or peer-reviewed journals. Now, and very important point these days, people is to discuss whenever you submit your article to a particular reviewed paper, reviewed journal or a refereed journal, all will be based on one important number, which is called as unit test number is called as impact factor. So, what is impact factor and why use it is a very important point. The impact factor is a measure of the frequency with which the average article in a journal has been cited in a particular year. This is very important. It is used to measure the importance or rank of a journal by calculating times its articles are cited. For example, how impact factor is calculated? The calculation is based on 2-year period. Involves dividing the number of articles, number of times articles were cited, how many number of times a particular article is cited or referred by the number of articles that are citable. The simple calculation will show you how the impact factor particular journal will be noted. A journal's impact factor, say for example in the year 2008, would be calculated by taking the number of citations in 2008 to articles that were published in 2007 and again previous year 2006. Those 2 years they will consider, and dividing the number by the total number of articles published in that same journal in 2007 and 2006. Below it, how a Thomson calculated 2008 impact factor, a particular journal, for the journal which you call as Academy for Management Review. Here is a simple mathematics. Sites in 2008 to items published in 2007 is 263 times, whereas in 2006, year 2006, 374. You just add these 2 year citations with summation which will be equal to 637. Then the number of items published in 2007 is 55, whereas in the year 2006, 47 publications. The total will be 104. Now, the calculation of impact factor, you just see here, the first and the second, sites to recent times, which is 637, divided by number of recent times, which is 637 divided by 104, which gives 6.125. This is the impact factor for that particular journal in the year 2008. So this impact factor reported in generally journal citation reports of the Karitare, which is called as JCR. Site score, which is similar to impact factor IF, but it is based on another one measuring factor, which is 4-year period measure marker, which I explained previously now, which is for 2 years. Now the graph which will shows along x-axis number of citations, along the y-axis you can see the number of papers. Now we can see how the graphs will show. Say for example, impact factor or a journal impact factor of an academic journal is a scientific index calculated by Clarivate that reflects the yearly mean number of citations of articles published in the last 2 years in a given journal as indexed by Clarivate's Web of Science. The graph will show clearly whatever the right side blue color vertical line, a few highly cited papers, and we can see the center we have nature impact factor is 38.1, whereas on the left hand side yellow color flat shows one which is just impact factor is just 3.1. Next, tools to measure journal impact factor. One is a journal citation report, which you currently say JCR, and another one is Scopus, which is most popular elsewhere. So Scopus provides the 3 journal metrics: site score, SJR, which is SI, SCI Magno, journal rank, and SNIP, source normalized impact per paper. Once you are in Scopus, click on the sources at the top to access the journal impact data. Now see below for more on SJR and SNIP. Over 22,000 active journals from over 4,000 international publishers which are available right now. Now, next, the SI Mago journal rank. What do you mean by that? Description is given. Then the next one is source normalized impact factor, which you call as SNIP. Next, the other part of my presentation, challenges in organizing, conducting, and technical conferences and seminars. A great conference educates, enlightens, and inspires, impress delegates like never before with superb event delivery and extra special little touches that makes a big difference. Conducting technical sessions, seminars, and conferences can be rewarding way to share knowledge, network with professionals, and stay updated on industry trends. Organizing conference that engages, informs, and entertains delegates is easier said than done. From planning the agenda and choosing the speakers and rolling out the promotional campaign, there are several challenges organizers or coordinators need to consider. Now, conducting technical seminars and conferences, we have some challenges and potential solutions also. The first one is define objectives. The conference objective first you have to define. Clearly outline the goals and objectives of the seminar or conference. Identify the target audience and their expectations. Select the relevant topic. Choose a right topic that is current, relevant, and addresses the needs of your target audience. Consider emerging technologies, industry trends, or common challenges. Source speakers. Invite knowledgeable and engaging speakers who are expertise in the chosen field. Ensure diverse range of perspective to provide comprehensive view. Secure speakers. Invite knowledgeable and engaging speakers who are experts in the chosen field. And speaker selection is a challenge. How attracting knowledgeable and engaging speakers can be difficult, especially if they are busy in their schedules. Solution is very simple. Start early in the planning process, actively network within industry, and consider offering incentives to speakers. Virtual presentations can also make it easier for speaker to participate. Diversity and conclusion. We have a challenge in that ensuring diversity in speakers and attendees can be challenging, but it is a crucial for a well-rounded conference. The solution is actively seek out diverse speakers, promote inclusivity in marketing materials, and offer scholarships or discounted rates for underrepresented groups. Establish a code of conduct to create welcoming environment for the participants. Set a data and venue. Pick a data that doesn't conflict with other major events. Create a budget. Outline the expenses for venue rental, catering, marketing, and speaker fees. Consider potential revenues streams such as registration fees for sponsorships. Financial constraints. Challenge. Securing funding for venue, speakers, equipment, and other conference-related expenses can be significant challenge. The solution is seek sponsorships from industry partners, offer different sponsorship packages, and explore grant opportunities. Consider alternative revenue streams such as exhibitor fees, registration fees, and virtual attendance options. Speaker selection. Attracting knowledgeable and engaging speakers can be a difficult task, especially if they are busy in schedules that I have told already. So this is repeated, right? And sometimes you go for start early in the planning process, actively network within the industry, and consider offering incentives to speakers. Virtual presentation can also make it easier for speakers to participate. The diversity and inclusion. Ensuring diversity in speakers and attendees can be challenging, but is crucial for a well-rounded conference. Which is the solution is actively seek out diverse speakers, promote inclusivity in marketing materials, and offer scholarships of discounted rates. Create a budget. Outline the expenses for venue rental, catering, marketing, and speaker fees. Consider potential revenues streams such as the registration fees and sponsorships. Financial constraints. Securing funding for venue, speakers, equipment, and other conference-related expenses can be a significant challenge. We have a solution for that also. Seek sponsorships from industry partners, offer different sponsorship packages, and explore grant opportunities. Consider alternative revenue streams such as exhibitor fees, registration fees, or virtual attendance options. Promote the event. Develop a comprehensive marketing plan using various channels, that is social media, email, industry forums. Highlight the benefits of attending and showcase the expertise of your speakers. Registration process. Implement an efficient and user-friendly registration process. Consider offering early bird discounts to encourage early registrations. Prepare materials. Create event programs, name tags, and any necessary handouts. Ensure that presentation materials are collected from speakers in advance. Technical requirements. Confirm that venue has the necessary technical infrastructure, audio visual equipment, internet connectivity. Conduct a technical rehearsal before the event. Engage attendees. Encourage audience participation through question and answers, sessions, panel discussions, or workshops. Provide networking opportunities for attendees to connect with each other. Logistic and planning. We have coordinating, logistic, managing schedules, and ensuring everything runs smoothly can be overwhelming. Use event management software for streamlining planning processes. Create a detailed timeline, delegate responsibilities, and have contingency plans in place. Regular communication with the stakeholders is crucial. Audience engagement, keeping attendees engaged throughout the conference, especially in long events, can be challenging. In that, we have a solution for that also. Incorporate interactive elements such as question and answers, sessions, panel discussions, workshops, networking, opportunities, leverage technology for audience, polling, virtual question and answer sessions, etc. So technology issues, technical ethics features, connectivity problems, and other technology related issues can disturb virtual conferences that can be overcome by conducting thorough testing of all virtual platforms and equipments. Adapting to changing circumstances, unexpected events such as global pandemic can force organizers to adapt quickly. We have flexible plan in place that allows easy transition between in-person and virtual platforms, and collect feedbacks, follow-up and documentation and continuous improvement, and post-conference follow-up, and meeting the challenges, how to overcome meeting length, lack of preparation, technical difficulties, lack of clarity, and late start and end times, poor communication between meeting attendees, lack of accountability, ignored meeting agenda. All these are challenges and you can overcome with that. By following these steps, one can organize successful technical seminar or conference that provides value to attendees and contributes to the knowledge sharing culture within your industry. Thanks for your patient hearing.
Sir, thank you very much. It was the elaborative session, an eye-opener for many. Now, I hereby request the audiences. Now, the room is open for the question and answers. If you would like to clarify any of the facts, you please can ask to the presenter here. If there are any questions to be asked, you please can raise your hand. Now the unmuting option is not open to all. If you can please raise your hand, you'll be unmuted. Any of the audience can now ask the questions. Now everyone are unmuted. Now, the unmuting option is open to all. You can unmute and you can ask the questions here for the presenter.
Still, if you have any doubts or clarifications, they can send given email.
So thank you very much once again. I think there are no queries from the audiences here. The audience can also communicate the speaker with the said email ID. You can get your queries clarified there. So thank you very much for your session.
Thank you.
May I now request Dr. Pundrika sir, Principal, Government Engineering College, Ramnagar, to share or to present his session on writing competitive research proposals. Sir, very good evening. I heartily welcome you here.
Good evening and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are, sir.
Okay. I hope you have my presentation.
Yes, sir. I will, sir.
Can I try to share it from here?
Sir, we'll be sharing it from here.
Okay. Go ahead, Ugar.
Sir, may I know the slide number from which we should open it?
Huh?
Sir, may I know the slide number? Or shall we? Sir, open right. Sir, we'll just share it now.
Okay.
Sir, please let us know the slide number. We'll be just scrolling down.
Yeah. Well,
ನಾಳೆ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ತೆಗೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು
go ahead. Okay, you can stop here. You
Yes,
can
sir.
stop here.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, friends. Once again, I'm back to interact with you and share my views on writing the research proposal. In the last presentation, I talked about writing the research proposal, wherein I also explained what is the importance of conducting the research, particularly from the faculty of the Government Engineering College, and how we are different from the faculty from the institutions of national importance, and what is the necessary to take the undertake the research work, and what is its importance. So whenever we talk about writing the research paper, we must have a lot of patience. As I told earlier, it requires longer time, long run, and we have to be prepared for the long run. And before writing up any research proposal, it is very essential for us to identify the sponsors first. So we must have a rough idea that who are going to fund us for the research, that we have to search for the right sponsors which aligns our research interest with the objectives of the funding agency. And also it is very important for us to read and understand the application guidelines and sponsors guidelines, which are very important to understand from the funding agencies. And after that, it is also very important for us to formulate an attractive research topic. So meaningful title, we must come out with it. And whenever we are formulating a title, it should not be too long, it should not be too short, and at the same time, it should not be vague also. So if I give a title, so that the evaluator or the expert who is evaluating my research proposal must understand readily, and he must understand the concept by looking at the title. Therefore, title should be very attractive, and as I told, it should not be so lengthy, it should not be so short, and at the same time, it should not be vague. For example, if I give an example, because mine is the mechanical background, and if I write a title of my research proposal like developing a thermoacoustic cooling system using noble gases with a temperature range of 20 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Celsius using linear thermocoustics theory. So it becomes very lengthy. Instead, I can say develop or design a develop thermoacoustic cooling system. There I can end, it will give some meaning. And at the same time, I cannot say develop a thermoacoustic system, which becomes very vague. Therefore, you must decide and come out with a nice title which should be attractive, and first part of your proposal expert should convince by looking at your title. Also, thereafter, I explained in my last presentation that problem statement, which is also very important, how we are going to provide the problem statement or formulate the problem statement, for which the rationale as well as the hypothesis are very important. Why we are conducting this research, why we are proposing this research for the grant, and what is the expected outcome after we complete the research projects, that we should have a clarity in our mind while writing the research proposal. The problem statement that should provide clear, concise, and at the same time convincing descriptions of the issues that need to be addressed. Apart from that, what is specific problem is that research area that you will address. So you must understand the subject, whether it is having any scope for conducting the research, or whether there are any low performance in the relevant area that we need to understand. And finally, for any research proposal, it is very, very important to come out with the objectives. And as I told in the last presentation, your research objectives should align with the mission of the funding agency. That you have to find out, and also take a little bit of survey with a lot of patience whenever you are finalizing the funding agency for your proposal or the research project. You must also get a few more details. So what kind of project is being supported from the such granting agency? What are their priority areas that you must understand, whether you your research objectives are aligned with the priorities of the funding agencies, that you must understand, and accordingly you must come out with the objectives. Provides a list of goals that will be achieved through the proposed research. The objectives are nothing but the list of goals that will be achieved through the research work. And then also you must state that what are the benefits, how once if you complete the proposed research work, what are the benefits are derived out of it, and how it is going to impact, or what will be generated if the research problem is answered. If the research proposal or research proposal where you are trying to address some problem, so if you are going to address such problem, how it is going to impact or have an impact on the society, or the existing knowledge, how well it is going to contribute in enhancement of the existing knowledge, or how it is going to benefit the society, that you need to present it very well. And also, why should we allow this research to be done? So that is generally the question asked by the expert. You should readily try to answer or justify your claim in the research objective. Then you need to carry out the preliminary literature review. As I told in my last presentation, literature review can be a qualitative or quantitative. Through qualitative research, you can come out with the statistics or the experimental data which is reported in the literature. That depends on the nature of the research you are undertaking. And at the same time, if it is quantitative, then you may have to go for a lot of interviews, taking feedback, and many other informal way of collecting the data. Then you'll have to come out with your own analysis and clearly identify what is the research gap for you to propose the research work, because which is very important. We have to convince the expert that, look, many things have happened in this domain or in this field, but still there are few more things need to be done. In what way? In this way. That is what you need to present and convince the expert, and you should claim why you are asking money for conducting the research. So what is known and what has been done by others, and why your research is still necessary to conduct in the present scenario is concerned. Then probably you may require also the primary and secondary data analysis, and probably you may justify your research, why you are undertaking the research. Then it comes to methodology. In the methodology, you must state what to do and how to solve the problem and achieve the proposed objective. So it should directly align your objective, stated objective in the proposal should follow the methodology. So because in the methodology, you are going to state how you are going to address the stated objective in the proposal. Which research methods will be used? You have to state there. You must have stated few objectives. In the methodology, you should clearly mention what is your approach to achieve the research objective, what methods you are going to use. And probably you may attach the project schedule, budget, and many other things that also you need to justify, and that should reflect in the methodology also. And another important issues that you can mention in the methodology is make sure that research design and approach is appropriate for the stated objective. I repeat, you have to make sure the design approach what you have proposed is more appropriate and which is going to address the stated objectives. And also it is very important that you did not have to assume that the reviewer is familiar with the techniques to be used in your study. They are experts, no doubt. But at the same time, you should not take it granted that the experts know everything. Therefore, you need to explain the concept very clearly in the methodology. You should not give any room for that the reviewers knows about these things. It becomes very silly for them. Don't think all those things. You need to mention very clearly in detail the methodology which addresses your objective. And also you can try to provide a brief description of the study, where your affiliation, where the place is located, from where you are conducting the study, what sort of a design you are conducting, and the activities, what sort of activities, the flow of activities have to be there. And then you have to plan for your research. You have to prepare the budget. We'll spend some time on preparing the budget, what should be considered and what not to be considered. And more importantly, about your research team. Nowadays, most of the funding agencies look for interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research projects they are trying to find. Therefore, you must have a strong research team wherein you have to identify your expertise required for your research. And you are supposed to give your biodata or curriculum vitae of all the researchers. And if requires some sort of a agreement with the funding agency, that also you can undergo. And you have to ensure adequate expertise available to execute this research project, that you have to convince with the funding agencies or the experts. Yeah, can you move to the next slide, Hugar? Next. It is also very important when you formally formulate a research proposal, it is very important for you to revise it. So how you can revise it? You have to share your idea with your colleague. First of all, you have to bold enough to present it before your colleague in the department at the first step. Next, you have to explore what are the possible experts who are available around you. So you try to contact them, connect them such that you can get the feedback on your proposal. You have to invite the comments, critics, so that will help you a lot in modifying and revising your proposal, which is a very important step. Therefore, the acceptability of the proposal is very high. Therefore, you need to take the feedback, suggestions from the experts, from your peer group, and then revise it and submit to the funding agencies. And then you'll have to wait for their decision. They will communicate whether it is accepted or not accepted. Once if it is accepted, they will ask you the acceptance. And then the other administrative formalities is going to happen, and then you can go for the project execution. Next, please. Next slide, please. Then after submitting the proposal, how it is to be reviewed or accepted, what are the different criteria so that the funding agency will look into it. My dear friends, you have to remember that even if you give 100 rupees or 500 rupees to our children, we have hundreds of questions to them. How did you spend? For what you spent? Is it? Therefore, simply the funding agencies will not give us money in terms of lakhs and crores of rupees for which we propose. They have got the hundreds of questions with them, and they have to ensure that whatever the money they are going to invest in the research proposal, it has to be utilized in a proper way and for the objectives which is proposed, and it should serve the purpose ultimately. Therefore, it is not that easy to get the funding unless you convince. If you convince and follow the holistic approach for writing and defending your research proposal, is going to be very easy. It is not that difficult. So while evaluating your research proposal, some of the criteria that they need to rule out. So investigator, what sort of investigating team or the research team they have, they go through your CV. Updated CV is very important. They get into the details of what sorts of publications you have published, where you have published, what sort of quality work you have carried out. They will also ensure that whether you are competent enough to handle the proposed research work, whether you have earlier executed such projects, whether you have got an experience of executing such projects, and at the same time, institution where you are affiliating is are going to support with all the necessary requirement which is required for executing the research project. They will rule out everything and go in detail, and they should convince that and get confidence that this team is going to execute this problem. Absolutely, there is no problem, and they have got the required competence to execute this problem. In that way, we need to convince the funding agency. And in addition to that, they also look into the relevance and effectiveness, how relevant it is, the proposed research work, and how it is going to be effective, in what way it is going to change the research direction, or if it is a new product development, how it is going to add value to the existing one. All these things they are going to rule out, and we will also discuss some of the things in the subsequent slides. And about the feasibility, efficiency, impact, sustainability is also very important, capacity and financials when it comes to budgeting and other things. Next, please. So when we talk about the relevance, first of all, I have put this in the form of questions, but you need to provide the answers for all these things whenever you are writing the research proposal. So you must state very clearly, does this study address an important problem? So what is your concept? Why it is so important at this juncture to address the problem? That you have to define and justify it. The aims of applications are achieved, and how will the scientific knowledge will be advanced. So that is the reason why you need to find out the research gap through the literature survey, and you have to justify it. So many research activities may be happening around, but still there is a lack of identity to establish some concept, or to bring out the new product, or to serve some purpose to the society. It may be there few gaps here and there that you have to collect systematically and present it. Look, this is the gap is identified for the research. So it is very, very important to address these issues in order to address the problem, or solve the existing bottleneck in the research. Therefore, it is also very important that how the studies and concepts or methods that drive the field. So if it is concept oriented, then you need to refine, revise, and say that this is the existing information available so far in the open literature, and this is the gap identified, and this is we need to address it. And if you address that problem or the issues, then this is how it is going to help the end users or the researchers in the same area. And then we have got who are the stakeholders that are appropriate or the relevant, and who are all involved in the research project. And then how will the changes is measured, monitored, and evaluated, which is also very important, that you have to provide the clarity in the research proposal. Once if you are getting the results or obtain the research results, how you are going to measure it? What are the possible methods by which you are going to measure? That too, error-free measurements is more important. And then how you are going to monitor it, and what are the evaluation techniques which are available. So which is also very important. Next, please. Then we have feasibility and efficiency. Always, it is a conceptual framework for design methods analysis. We have to well integrated, and it has to be more appropriate for the aims of the project that they are going to evaluate it. And also they ensure that does the applicant knowledge potential problem areas and consider alternative tactics. The experts will explore and judge whether any alternative techniques or the tactics are there, alternative to the research grants which are proposed, and is the approach has been attempted elsewhere. That you have to make out in your justification note, that where this kind of research activities are happening and who are all conducting such research. You must have the clear idea and updated knowledge about the research area that you are proposing for the funding. They must rule out. And what is the time frame from the project, and is it realistic? So realistic is very important. You may conduct any research and you may come out with the expected hypothesis, but it should be measurable. It should be realistic. So you cannot propose that, and I cannot say that I want to develop nuclear fuel engine. So how it is possible? For a person who is working at some organization with limited knowledge, it becomes very vague and it cannot be realistic. Therefore, you should not give room for such things, and you have to address them appropriately. Next, please. Then what sort of impact it is going to create? Whether it is going to employ novel concepts, approach, or the methods. New methods are developed, new approaches are developed out of the research work what you have proposed. Are the aims original or innovative? That experts are going to judge. Therefore, in your research proposal, you have to spend some time and address these issues. You have to state your proposal is original, it is very innovative, it is different from other researchers. That you have to justify it and convince the experts. And also they look, does the project challenge existing paradigm, develops a new methodology or technology. They will also explore in all possible ways that how this project outcomes will be derived and who are the benefits or end users. All those things clearly you must mention. Next, please. And whatever we do, it is very important for us to sustainability. So you are establishing the laboratory, and after establishing the laboratory, completing it, after the project period, you may be moving from one college to another college, and how the facilities created at one college or the laboratories will be sustained. So sustainability plan is also important. Always you should bear in mind, whatever the proposals you prepare, it should be sustainable, it should be eco-friendly. So these are the two thumb rules on which all the activities that we conduct have to be based on the sustainability as well as the eco-friendly. So whenever we talk about the sustainability, what are the revenue generation plan? If there are any repeated expenses or consumables even after completing the research period, how we are going to manage these expenses, that you need to spell out very clearly. Are there any funding sources after the completion of the project, how it is going to be sustained? Therefore, you need to spell out in your proposal what would be the sustainability model for your research project. Next, please. And then the capacity. Already I have explained about the research team and the PI. What is that they expect from the PI? What are their competence level, whether they have executed such projects? All through they are going to evaluate you, and if the PI is found to be suitable for executing the proposed research work, then only they give the clearance. Next, please. And then next, we talk about the financials, wherein we are supposed to talk about the, you know, talk about the budget. So you have to plan the budget, provide what is the total and yearly breakdown of the project needed, follow the guidelines provided by the sponsors, where you can plan and obtain the grant from, give appropriate estimates, costs, depending upon the different areas, likewise travel, transportation, recurring, non-recurring grants. You have to plan systematically. It should be justifiable, particularly the costly consumables and the costly equipments have require definitely justification, which is very important. And what are the internal controls and how the institutions will support to handle these finances, you have to spell out very clearly, and how we are going to uh, spend the amount, and how it is routed through to reach the principal investigator, what kind of support systems are available at the institution where the projects are executed. All those things you have to prepare neatly and convince the experts. Next, please. As I told, direct cost include personal, recurring expenses, non-recurring expenses, and travel expenses. Indirect cost includes overhead charges, about 15 to 5 to 10%. You may be wondering what is indirect costs. These are the overhead charges, because institution is helping you to execute the research project by providing the space, electricity, water, and many resources they are going to extend. Therefore, and also the accounts people in the office will be taking care of your financials, statement of accounts and other things. Therefore, in some institutions, overhead charges will be there. It is permitted to collect, and generally it is from 5 to 15%. That depends on the institution policy. And then it comes to budget justification and budget summary outline. You have to come out with the time activity chart and mention clearly how well you are planning to execute the research project. Next, please. This is our sample budget summary I have shown, where recurring salaries, wages, consumables, travel, and for each one of the items, you need to write clearly how you are going to justify this. And whenever you are writing the salaries, it should be on par with the UGC salaries, recommended salary. You cannot be less or cannot be more. And whatever the TAD are there, it is with respect to your cities where the project is located. Next, please. Next, justification for salaries and wages. You have to calculate it yearly, year-wise, and then you have to go for the justification. Next, please. Justification for my project I have written, same thing I have also reflected here. You can say proposed work involves a lot of experimental work and many measuring parameters. Therefore, a dedicated project assistance with so and so qualification is required to conduct the experiments, and sometimes you also require manual work for facilitating the equipment, and some project assistant to bring the material, go to the market, move here and there, and help the conducting the experiment if it is experimental work. So all these things you need to justify it so as to get the proposed grants under salary wages. Next, please. This is how it looks like. The format will be given by the funding agencies. If it is not given, you have to come out with your own format, clearly convincing the experts. Next, please. And justification for the costly items. Just I have given the examples how to justify costly items whenever we proposed for the procurement. Those things you can write. Next, please. And then for travel, budgeting for contingencies and other things you can propose as per the prescribed format if it is given, or if it is not given, the same format you can also follow. This is the standard GST forum format I have presenting it. Next, please. Finally, the budget for equipment and other things with a lot of specification and other things, you can prepare the equipment list with the specification. Next, please. Next. Next, please. This is the Gantt chart or the activity time chart. This is how you can prepare. Some of the activities may be taking place parallelly. You have to show them clearly depending upon what is the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, or it can be on month wise. Depends on the duration of the project. Clearly, you need to represent how well you have planned to execute the project. It should be convincing one. Next, please. And there are several issues with the research project, why your projects are not being approved. There are several issues. Why generally the projects are not approved is, one thing is objectives are not clear. They are either too broad or too ambitious, as I told earlier. Therefore, your objective should be measurable, it should be realistic, and it should be achievable. So in such a manner, if you write the objective so as to convince the experts, it is possibility of accepting your proposal would be more. And objectives do not reflect title of your study or statement of the problem. If there is a mismatch, then also it is liable for the rejection. And if there are no literature review or the relevant references, so when it comes to references, it is also very, very important to put and cite the references at the end of the proposal, because the similar work which you are going to cite in the references, the same experts may be reviewing your project proposal. So expert, if he sees his work is cited in your project proposal in the reference, definitely you would be very happy, and you will have different kind of opinion about your proposal. Therefore, you must be aware who are all working in this field and what are their work that you need to understand, and also you must judge and expect who are all going to be the experts for scrutinizing this particular proposal. So you must have the rough idea, and accordingly you should mention the citations in the references. So some of the funding agency will give the format style to represent the references. Otherwise, you can follow any reference styles. There may be several reference styles. For example, Harvard reference slides. There is MLA reference styling. There may be IEEE reference styling. There may be APA reference styling. There are different reference styling will be there, wherein first is the serial number, which is maybe in the bracket, or bracket may not be there, then surname of the author. So readily you can find several referencing styles. So you have to follow general standard references, and citing the relevant references is very, very important. Then if you provide inadequate information or the methodology, then your proposal is liable to be rejected. If there are any appropriate time frame or schedule of activities, and if it is too ambitious, then definitely it is going to be rejected. And if you provide no justification for purchase, asking too low or too high budget, then definitely it is not realistic, and they will understand that with that you do not have proper idea to execute the project. Therefore, they are not going to approve it. So these are some of the issues they are going to consider while approving the approval for your research project. So these are some of the things which you should bear in mind. Next, please. These are some of the lacunas. If the proposal has, then they are all liable for the rejection. Goals are overstated, overly ambitious, unrealistic, poor focused, inadequate conceptualization, hypotheses are not clearly articulated. So these are some of the drawbacks which leads for the weak proposal rather than a strong proposal. As I told earlier, it is very important for you to take the feedback from the experts. You have to be always connected with the experts, seek their advice, opinion, invite their comments, critics, so that you can improve upon the quality of the research proposal. Therefore, anybody for that matter who is evaluating your proposal, you will be convinced, and the chances of accepting your proposal will be more. Next, please. Next, please. Next. Next. So the chances of increasing the success of your proposal is read and call thoroughly, clarify any queries with the funding agency a priori or before you are going to submit. If there is a call from the funding agency, sometimes they do happen that. So you have to clarify them. If there are any doubts, they will contact. And it has to be realistic in designing the project. Study successful proposals before you formulate and submit. You are required to study some of the successful proposals written by other experts. And as I told earlier, it has to be collaborative in nature, multidisciplinary in nature. Competent team should be there, and they should convince your competency level by looking at the experience you had in executing such projects or publishing such a paper relevant to your proposed project. And then you have to plan well in early, take feedback from the variety of experts, and explicit connection between the parts of the proposal. Logical ending should be there. There has to be, should be well connected with your introduction, with your, objectives, methodology, budgeting, planning, execution. So all parts of your proposal should be connected very well. Next, please. So these are some of the things with which you can win a good proposal. Next. So take home messages for you is grant proposal writing is an important skill. It is something like it is a art that you must learn. Strong proposal requires patience. As I told last time that there is no magic or a single formula by which you can win the project. So step by step procedures that you need to follow, and for which you need to wait along. And do not despair if rejected. Don't be demotivated. If your proposal is rejected, you have to work hard, work on your weakness, and again put up a strong proposal. Don't be demotivated. You have to start with a small, establish your track record first, and then ask for more money. Align with the agency's priority, which is very important. You have to first identify the agencies, and their priorities should match your objectives of the proposal. So if these things are set right, definitely you're going to win the proposal. Next, please. These are some of the funding agencies which I have listed out. You can visit the website and keep a track with the funding call and guidelines. Many other things you may follow and get the proposal. Definitely, if you have dedication and if you do systematic work in formulating the proposal, definitely you're going to win. So these are some of the experience I shared with you. And also I am very happy to share that my success rate in getting the grant is almost 100%. So none of my proposals are rejected so far. So whatever the proposals I wrote to DST, ARIAN, DP, REICT, I got the grants by following the simple guidelines which I explained to you. You can also follow and win the grants. So I'll once again wish all my faculties very best in getting the grant for their institutions. Thank you for your patient listening. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to take.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. If there are any questions from audience, please raise your hand virtually. Mitesh Kumar. Mitesh Kumar, everybody.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Mitesh, you just unmute your mic and you can speak. Mitesh? Nitesh, hello? Mitesh?
He might have raised by mistake.
Yeah. Okay, mic not active. You say mic not active.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Thank you, sir. Now it is active. Sir, it's a wonderful section. I have one question, sir. Regarding the references, sir.
Okay.
Sir, a reference you told two type. One is quantitative and qualitative. Sir, in
Usually
usually
it's not a reference. Quantitative and qualitative comes in the literature survey.
sir, correct. Literature, sir. Exactly. Literature reference. Sir,
Yeah.
for in the proposal, what is there is something like the minimum literature we have to add like that count numbers.
No, there is no minimum or maximum. It has to be appropriately relevance to your topic. Updated
Okay.
literatures.
Okay, and the recent one, and
Yeah.
we can go up to 25 plus. Is it fine or sometimes like that? I want to ask.
No, definitely it is not the question of how many numbers you put. What is important is how relevant literatures you have cited is more important.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. It was
Okay.
very informative and definitely, and congratulate on your success. That 100% success project is very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice presentation, sir. I thank on behalf of State and director for your talk for second time. There was a request from many.
Yeah, I was not able to complete last time.
Yeah. So thank you very much, sir, once again. Now, actually, we have next session by Dr. Nandini.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all the concerned officials from the directorate and commissionerate. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Nandini, madam, Dr. Nandini, madam.
Yes, sir. Good evening,
Yeah.
sir.
Just switch on your video so that you'll be visible to others. Yeah. No, I don't type. So, Dr. Nandini is working as assistant professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering at the Government Sri Krishna Rajendra Silver Jubilee Technological Institute, Care Circle, Bangalore, under VTU, affiliated to VTU. She obtained her doctorate in the field of photonics at UCE, Bangalore, Department of ECE, Bangalore University. She has more than 22 years of enriched experience, teaching experience in both private and government organizations. Dr. Nandini has published and presented research papers in both international and national conferences. Many of her research works were published in reputed international journals. She has supervised more than 50 UG PG students for successful project completion. Sorry. Her research interests include integrated optics, optical networks, quantum dots, optical communication, photonic crystals, surface plasmon resonance, fiber Bragg grating, and photonic band. Madam, on behalf of the directorate and all the participants over here, it's my pleasure to welcome you for this AROHAN lecture series 3. And she'll be talking on research grants and funding agencies. Madam, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the brief introduction. And it was very good to be a part of this AROHAN 2024 lecture series 3. I really thank the Department of Collegiate and Technical Education for giving me an opportunity where I'll be talking on the research grants and the funding agencies. As told by the previous speaker, some of the points was being included there and he has spoken very well. To continue on that, I'll be talking first about the research grants and then what are the fundings where we will get from which agencies and how it is going about. So these are the simple terminologies you'll be knowing. What is research proposal? Now, what is a grant? See, grant means as we talk about the fund. Fund is in terms of money or the monetary benefits that a government or any other institution which will be given to the individual to for a particular purpose to get the project done. Okay. And what is a research grant? Any innovative work which you're going to discover some facts and which will be useful for the society. For that, we tell it as a research, and any fund given to this grant, either by the central government, state government, or by the organization or the management of the institution, wherever he or she is working, so pays for this scientific research. So the funding provided for conducting such a research work is defined as a research grant. And the monetary benefits what we get to do these process is called as research funding. Okay. And why do we need research? First of all, why do we need a grant or researchers? For that, we should see what is my passion of which area of field which I'm going to explore with the unexplored field or to identify the gaps. For that, I should have the interest in that particular field and I should be motivated by my peers and I should know what is my strength and weakness. And of course, if I know whatever it is, I should have a support both from the family, academic, moral, as well as financial support, as well as my health and age also should support it because it is not a day's program. It is a long run, whether I wanted to take this research grant for a minimum period or a maximum long run period. For that, I should have an ability to do the innovation. We have to have some innovative techniques and where I should not see about the royalty or the monetary benefits, what I'm going to get at the end, but I have to support and create a better dispersing of excellent knowledge and technologies, which will support the end users. End users are the stakeholders where the research grant where I have pursued will be used for. And here, when we see here, it is not only, I just look into the stakeholder and I can't to keep on doing this research until the end. I should have a time frame or timeline where it should be properly organized and well advanced, have a timetable with me and then start off. Okay. So what are the types of research grant and who can do it? Anyone can do with a limited knowledge and which has a motivation or a challenging with this. Now, for getting a research grant, we should have a clear-cut proposal, research proposal. What does the research proposal means? The objective should be very, very clear and it should not be too broad or too narrow. It should be to the precise point and what has to be done when, timeline has to be given, and it should be crafted very well such that if I go and ask for any funding, they should not be in a position to reject, but they should be in a position for me to call immediately and give a grant. And when I go and approach them, they should be in a position such that the to and fro traveling charges also should be given. So we have to convince them by our well-crafted research proposal. Okay, then according to the proposal, what we are submitting, whether it is a small end users or the large end users, or whether it is for the organization, wherever it is, here, the research grant, I can design it for first small level, and then I can develop it also. It is not, I can have a limitation for that. For that, I can have the types of research grants at institutional level, international level, organizational, individual, maybe for myself, or grants for just conducting some seminars, conferences, or consultancies, or any startups, or to become an entrepreneur. For these all, some budget allocation should be done, where only a few researchers who write a very good proposal will succeed in obtaining the grants or else it will be rejected. But we should not take back or we have to find what was the reason for it, and we have to get back with the same idea, and we have to get back with just an improvement of the overcomes of the gaps. Okay. So when we know that we have gone for a grant and what now, we should know what type of grants we have. To be very precise and to work on an underline randomly here, we have two types, only for small period and one is for a maximum period. The maximum period can be for 2 years, 3 years or 5 years also. Depending on that, we have to write the proposal and we have to frame a timeline. But we have to see where the stakeholders are. For that, researchers are affiliated with individual laboratories or only to their own centers, like us. It is a centric approach only to the department or only to the academic institution. Then it is called as intramural grant. And the limiting funding will be for a period of 2 to 3 years or sometimes very less also. The applications will be accepted 3 times a year, March 15th, July 15th, and November 15th. 2 months in advance, it will be initiated in the website. We can see the deadlines and we have to follow it. In case if the deadline is on a holiday or weekend, the next working day will be that is the last day for applying the intramural grant. Intramural grant is only for smaller research work. Whereas if I wanted to for a larger research work is for a group of individuals or for a multi community, where even a layman also can use, or even any researcher who can use my opinion, then we have to see the applications will be contributed only once in a year. Why is it so? Because in the core research grant, it is very, very difficult because our objective should be very clear enough. And not many objectives, just 2 or 3 objectives where we should be able to define it and we have to do it. And when we have the objectives clear enough, next step is the methodology. What type of methods we are going to use, and at the end, whether I'm going to do experimental work or simulation work or any fabrication work, whatever it is, that all we have to bring. So it requires a long period of planning. That is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Now, initially here, when we try to write this, we'll have many confusions, like how to go about it, because it's a long run. And we have the funding also maximum here support in order to continue the research. Now, the funding will not be given one shot at a time, but it will be given part by part payment until the work progresses in core research grant. Sometimes in a big institutions or big organization, big industries, if we see our back-end work, or else whatever we have done the previous work, then there is a chance of giving 50% of your fund also. And 100% of the funding will be very, very less, because they will not give 100% of the funding completely, because we don't know whether we'll be completing or what, maybe due to any type of circumstances. The call for investigator initiated the submission of proposal from Jan 1st, 2024 to February 21, 2024. As I told you, approximately 2 months will be there. But the last date was extended up to March 14th. On request, you can submit again this further core research grant, but you should have a detailed explanation, including whether we buy a small stationery, Xerox machine, projector, or any experimental work, anything should be there. Each and every item along with the cost should be given there. Who are the targeted grants for the innovation? See, innovation targeted project programs addresses, first of all, our gaps. Why? Because it is a and search research. Hence, we have the gaps in an innovation profile, so that whether my gap can fit into which plan, whether it's a business plan, strategic agenda, or my personal plan, or whether it is into the organizational fit, or whether it is outfit to the public domain, or whether it can have the external changes and influences the technological development. For example, if I have any algorithm to be developed, that algorithm is too long, I can cut short it with very few lines. For that all, also I can have this innovation targeted project programs. And it is a permanently open call with different cutoff dates that will be announced at least 2 months before the set submission deadline. Why is this so? Because here it is all a targeted innovative work which I'm going to present it before the committee. Each cutoff date will be specific in terms of the topic to be addressed and the requirements to the stakeholders. Now, I know what are the requirements, what are this. Now, how do I go about? So first of all, I have to articulate why, what, when, and how. When will I complete it, and whether I develop the product will be targeted within the time frame, and whether it will be the outfit for my customer. For that, I should know what is my need and what are the how much fund I require, based on which what is your timeline. Next, I have to know the strategies. Next, the utilization of the resource. And finally, I should know what is the use of the project management tool, whether it is experimental fabrication or whether it's a simulation work, so that it should be available to everyone present there. And we have to convince the committee so that I can accept this research grant with the help of my very good proposal, where there should not be any gap and there should not be any room for any questions. In case if there is any questions also posed, I should be in a position to defend it and carry it forward so that I can get a easier funding. For that, what should I do? Consider large funding sources, not only stick to only one particular funding and keep. I can see where my domain fits in, and I can do the last many surveys so that I can search for which funding I can apply and get it. Next, I should reach out to the experts and I should see whether my proposal which I have written or can be easily get granted and get the funding done. Then I have to regularly check the news in my field for the novelty which I have done, and finally ask any questions to myself so that if there is any doubts within me, I should be getting clarified, because I have to present it before the expertise. And demonstration should be very clear so that whoever is the committee may or may not have the knowledge of mine, but questions will be thrown out like anything, where we have to defend it, we have to take over in a smooth manner. Convincing is also an art where we can get good grant as well as good funding from a very good agency. Now, what are the don'ts? Now, we should not neglect and we should not be overconfident, and we should not tell, oh, these reviewers don't know about my subject or they know everything. Why should I explain? That all it should not be that. We should not ignore also, and we should not overlook to the co-investigators. Like this, I can enhance my application and again, I can enhance my experience also. Now, what are the components while giving the grant proposal? First of all, as you know, it will be a covering letter. Next, the summary, where the summary should be the encapsulation of the brief synopsis with key points. For that, I'm not telling you to highlight it, or I'm not telling you to just bold it. Whatever it is, if I just go through the small paragraph, the abstract, it should justify for what I am doing. It should be a clear-cut objective mentioned. With my problem statement, what are the goals to be achieved, as well as what are the methodologies I'm using between my idea and the action. Action is which tool I am using and who is going to evaluate. Anyone can come and evaluate, maybe from my domain or not from my domain. Anyone who can be evaluated should see the effectiveness and accountability, so that my work should sustain wherever I go for a long-term project viability. We have to see we should have a vision for long-term as well as We should see that we should have a minimum budget and we have to fit in that. And this budgeting should have a clearly each and every item. In case if you're purchasing a small stationery, maybe a pen which you're going to use it, that also you can count it. Or whether you're going to purchase a lax together machine, also you have to count it with a descriptive for what I'm using it. That all should be there in my spreadsheet. For this also I can have a tool. And finally, the appendixes, where I will have the relevant supplementary materials that is clearly referenced with the grant application. See, for doing all these, I don't know whether if I have a limited members, whether I'm doing wrong or right, or whether my own discipline will be very much correct or not. So funders, what they will tell it is, they will have a cross check with others also. Me myself also, I will not stick on to one funding agency where he may quote very less. I will be fitting my project or fitting my research work to any discipline where it can be accepted. So funders may simply seek out applications that represent multidisciplinary and multinational projects. It involves the reaching to peers, mentors, and other colleagues with shared interest and research goals. See, before researching, what is a collaboration means? Collaborative is like sitting together and discussing as what should I need assistance in writing my proposal, or my getting the grant, or editing, or having the Excel sheet of budgeting, or whether my knowledge is very limited to the technical field, or have I got the necessary resources. So these are the different types of questions which will be occurring, and these can be collaborated and discussed with peer who has the same interest. How to write the research grants? I'll be just showing you at the end of the slide empty form where how can I fill in that. So whatever it is, we have to be prepared for the long run. According to the timeline, stick within the timeline to complete it. Take any type of feedback positively. Don't overwhelm or don't underestimate, don't ignore. Whatever it is, everybody should be accepted. Now, who is that everybody? Everybody is my team members. Who is my team members? The one who has got a grant and got the funding. Say, in case if it is myself, I'll be the PI. PI is a principal investigator. And next, I'll be having the co-PIs. Who will be my co-PI? Who will be my assistant? And take it from me, most of the time, co-PI and PI will not go hand in hand. Co-PI may or may not join hands together always. So it is a whole and sole responsibility of the PI to have very close relationship with the other team members. The other team members consist of the research associates, research assistants, the statistics why we require is whether I'm going to fit into the time frame within my budget as well as within my time limit. So what happens here, the project assistants which I'm going to take, or the research assistants, can be from any organization which has a shared interest. And we have the same technology where he can simulate or work on my experiment. So for that, I should have the identity and I should have an interview, not formally, but a friendly talk, so that we can know whether I can take him into my group. Now, before writing, it is essential to know the sponsors for the research and read and understand the application guidelines. This is very, very important. After applying, we should not regret it. Oh, this we have done wrong at that time. No second thought for that. So please read the application guidelines and then go ahead. Let it be any type of sponsors, whether it is from your own college management or with the organization, government, central government, any type, or whether it can be international also. So for that, what is the biggest challenge we are getting is the monetary. What is that monetary? It's a fund. Funds for research is one of the biggest challenges for the researchers. Now, why do I say so? If I say, now, it will just cost 10 lakhs, but when I'm doing my experiment, it goes beyond 10 lakhs, what to do then? So should I exceed the amount and should I quote it? Another example is, In case if I've quoted for 10 lakhs, but I made use only within 5 or 6 lakhs, then what about the remaining amounts? What should I do? So these are the biggest challenges. For that, I should have a collaborative thinking and collaborative discussion with that. Okay, the obtaining funds for educational institutions helps for teaching improvements, educational institution, because I talk on behalf of the college, creating learning resources, carrying out our research works or projects. It can be from our final year students, which can create a spark to get a bigger work done with through them. Guiding people for research, conducting extension program, and finally carrying out consultancy services based on our research output. Necessary funds can be obtained institutional, local level bodies, say from the department also, or state level, central, international, company-based R&D, or NGOs also plays an important role. Company-based R&D is, say, for example, if I'm doing any defense project, I can get a quote from ISRO or LD, to name a few, like that. So even R&D also plays an important role. Prerequisite, the PI, I told you the main project director, where the PI is a whole and soul leader for my whole grant, for my whole funding. He should have a very good CV. This CV should contain what are the major publication, how much patent he has granted, what is the technical knowledge he has, or what are the tools he is familiar, and what is the technical knowledge which he has obtained by having a very good publication, what is the citations, and so on. So if the leader has very strong CV, obviously he can lead in the other co-PI as well as the other members. So what we have to do is, it is not only depending on the PI, we have to have a group or the team. Teamwork plays a very important role from the start till the end, because each and every timeline, at the end of each and every timeline and the feedback, we should have an alert options in your email ID for the keywords of the research field, and we have to go on expanding it, and we have to try to finish our work faster. In case if we have any doubt, we can got it clarified by the collaborative. In case if not, also we can go and attend some conferences, workshop, etc., and we can find out the doubt. Now, how to apply for the research funding? See, after we get the grant, we are going for the funding. Now, funding means, as I was repeatedly telling you about the strategic timing. Plan is a very important in terms of objective, in terms of your time frame, in terms of your stakeholders. For that, you should be very prepared in terms of converting from your ideas to actions, where that will come only through clear preparation, and you have to craft your proposal, and you have to craft your grant, and you have to craft your Excel sheet, that is your spreadsheet, so that your proposal, whoever scrutinizes, will be to the precision, clarity, and will be with a minimum room for questions. It can be done not only with the academicians, it can be done with non-academicians also. Okay. Now, the types of research funding where we can get here was this JRF, Junior Research Fellowship, SRF, a Senior Research Fellowship, or Prime Minister's Research Fellows. Also, we can have in our team. Why? Because these are the students who will be paid by the government or maybe paid by the organization also. Sometimes this Prime Minister Research Fellowship, they are already paid, and they are also identified where they can work on and where they have the strong knowledge, technical knowledge. So they will be helped with some of the scholarships and fellowships. Finally, we should have the funding, whether it can be a small funding or a larger fund, where it can be going for the initial to the extent of your large funds. But as I told you, it will be coming, the funds will be coming as and when you progress the work according to the timeline. Cover short periods. It can cover the seed funding, come from a few months to a year. Next is the project funding. Project funding is for 3 to 5 years of work, and it emphasizes on the large project team where you have many expertise teams working together, where the ideas will be converted to actions and through some of the tools present with the experimental graph. Then and then we have to go on identifying our work, whether our gap has been filled. Okay, next we have the center funding. Center funding is from 3 to 6 years or even a longer period also. You have a greater funding here, the amount here. Recently, the center funding, last month, Geetham University, I had an interaction with one of my fellow member. There he told 100 crores of project. I was so shocked. How come you got so much and what is the way of that? So what he told was, it is not a day work. It is a work from the multidisciplinary, and it was a work with the different committees sitting together. Finally, the PI and the co-PI, along with the members, have drafted the proposal, and they have clearly, it was very beautiful to look at, and they have clearly crafted the proposal there in order to get that such a long fund work, and it was for a 10 years project, and for that crores project. And as the work was going on progressing, one of the PMRF, that is the Prime Minister Research Fellow, who was deputed, he was recognized by this awards also. What is the award is not only with a simple certificate, but he is recognized with the financial support for the past contributions in the research or the field of study. And they are very competitive, where we'll be very astonished to see their strong track records of the technical activities where they are very research competitive, and they can enter either money or cash or award in the form of contact with the help of the funding agency. These awards also will be given by the funding agency directly or indirectly by the organization also. Next, you have the core research funding, is also called as the extramural funding. What is the core research funding? Is for the period of 3 years or maximum up to 6 years. The fund is provided based on your research equipment, manpower, travel, contingency, consumables, stationaries, you name it, anything under the roof, it will be given. But we have to see the stakeholders are very beneficial, and whatever is the output of our work, it should be useful for the future also of our country also. And also, the funds are provided to individual researchers or group of researchers working in a recognized institution or national lab or any recognized research and development institution in India, which can come, any funding scheme can come under any government agencies or the institutional agencies also. So here are, to name a very few, here you find the list of funding schemes under various government departments and agencies by Department of Science and Technology, DST, where the list of government agencies cover UGC, TOC, DAE, as mentioned in this slide. Finally, ending up with the India Science, Technology and Innovation. It is not limited here, but it can be extended. Why? Because each and every heading in these has different subdivisions. Under AICTE, we have different subdivisions. Maybe it can be for communication purpose, or can be for medical purpose, or biotechnological purpose, or anything it can be. Accordingly, the funding is there. So these are the broad area of funding. And major Indian organization funding R&D are some may be repeated here, where it is the DST, DBT, DRDO, as I told you. Here, these are the major Indian organization funding, which has been shown here. And the funders provide money to advance ideas or concepts that further reach their goals. And they require the exact steps that may take the months also. Exact steps means the methodology or the flow chart or the algorithm which you're going to follow it along with the timeline. To be astonished, here we can see that government has empowered women where they can empower the world. So when the women are empowered, then they can do whatnot under the umbrella of their work. For that, little bit of motivation where is been required, and the spark should be created in the women so that they have to come out of their nutshell and exhibit their talent, where they can have the where they can bridge the gap between the institutional lending and the financial needs for any women entrepreneurs. It's not only for the entrepreneurship, whether they are working in an organization or anywhere else. For this, we have to be thankful to the government where they have the more funding here. Here also I have listed only the important one where they can get major fundings. For example, here we have the Women Scientist A scheme A, Women Scientist scheme B, Women Scientist scheme C, like that all there where they had taken this from the DRD or RIS or website, where they have the scientific approach of working in the defense project. One of the very example, well, I'll be telling it is where to share an experience, women here, yesterday also I had interaction. She is from the other state coming into the Bangalore and exhibited one of the project within a short period of time here, that is finding a crack in the track of the railways. Now, this crack is very, very minute with the help of this photonic sensor. Why I am telling is photonic sensor is my field it is. So I was just asking like how the sensors can be used and how the photonics can be raised. So either the very minute and which is not even like visible to our naked eye, that was done. So that is the bridging of the gap. Now the government has motivated her. Now it has been carried over to the other field. Other field is in the medical field. Now the same madam is been exhibiting her talent in the other field. What is that other field in case if a person doesn't have two hands at all, he is unable to work with his hand, but still he, that madam has developed a sensor with where it can be placed in the specs. And when the person handicapped person wears the specs, as and when he rotating the eyeballs, he can have a control over the to whichever work he is doing. By blinking the eyeballs, as soon as he points out that direction, and when he blinks, it will be like a mouse click. It was very, very, very interesting, and the government has been recognized, and they have initiated and given the greater fund. So likewise, this is just two examples which I had given you, and that lens can be placed like a cap on your head. If not, it can be worn or specs also. Why? Because it was being motivated, and first it was initially in the cap over the head. Yeah, correct. Then it was on the specs. No, she is trying to do it with where it can be placed like a lens placed on the eyeball itself. So likewise, we can get motivated, and the funding agency which was being given was from the DST here. So that one was given by this Women Excellence Award, also was being awarded for her with some of the monetary benefits. So hats off to such type of women entrepreneurs, where the government also is being motivated to all, not only to that, even for the minorities or to the SC/ST researchers also. I'm not here to enable or to identify that particular madam here. I'm just telling you the work that. So anyone under the screen can do it only when you have the strong technical knowledge and the passion for the work. Here, the special support for research and innovation for minorities is being given by the SSRI funders under the UGC Act, as well as the funders for differently abled person under the Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship for Research and Innovation, students with disabilities. Again, it depends on the percentage of disabilities also, and it provides funding for research projects in various fields under the umbrella of science, engineering, interdisciplinary, humanitarian, social sciences, or in the times of medicals, anything. Name it, if the funding agency under the UGC is ready to give it. The next, academia industry funding agencies. Here, these are different types of academia industry funding agencies here, where the industry can be correlated with the academic to get the better consultancy. And this is the central government funding agencies, where sir has already displayed this in the previous slide, the previous speaker, as well as we can have the international also, that is with the European Union. This is one of the example where the DST has been signed a bilateral agreement with the Europe and the Asia Pacific. The types of funding is for grant, financial assistance, subsidies, then finally the procurement, everything all they have given. Finally, we have the call proposal which is upcoming one. Most of the proposals was closed very recently, so I just found it here on the web. This is a call for proposal for the upcoming one, which is the closing date is April 15th. I encourage or I motivate the other speakers also to propagate their research grants or research funds, how to procure that in your own organization, so that everybody
please,
can.
1 second, please. Actually, another speaker is from US. He's waiting from half an hour.
The conclusion over, sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. So this is conclusion is I have to keep on updating the knowledge and publish in good journals, writing books, chapters, everything will have impact. It is not only for your benefit of your single, you can do anything in the pipeline under the field of research, the science. And so likewise, you can get a very good grant with a very good fund. Thank you one and all for your patience listening.
So
Any
thank you very much,
questions?
madam. Yeah, thank you very much. Any quick questions from audience? Or you can, madam, you can, she is in Government SKJTI. At any point of time, you can contact her or you can mail her, and she'll be happy to just answer your queries. Madam, thank you very much on behalf of Higher Education Department and Collegiate and Technical Education Department officers. Now, actually, we have Mr. Vinay Rao. Vinay, yeah. Vinay, welcome, Vinay. Sorry, we made you to wait for a long time.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
audible.
You are audible, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Vinay. So it's my pleasure to introduce you for this particular AROHAN lecture series 3. Briefly, just let me tell you this initiative from Higher Education Department, our Principal Secretary's initiative, where he wanted to share best practices engineering colleges among staff and students. So there will be a blend of industry, academia, and as well as other faculty members who can share their experiences to all the stakeholders like students and staff members. So let me introduce Vinay. Vinay is driven by a passion for connecting with the business users and address their challenges through innovative data-driven strategies. He finds true satisfaction in the analyzing, designing, and actualizing functional analytics systems for businesses. Before establishing he earned his skills at Teradata, Mindtree, and Oracle, excelling as a team member, individual contributor, and leader across the various roles. He is actually now is a vice president and co-founder of Ivega. He talks today. His topic is on business backward approach in IT consulting, technology forward. Welcome, Vinay, once again on board. Now it's your turn to just enlighten us. Thank you.
Thank you, TGB. I think just one time quick voice check. I am audible well for everybody?
Yeah. You are audible.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that kind words, TGB. I think what is most important, apart from what all I have done or I do, is TGB and I go back to school days. We did our a couple years of high school and pre-university together in India. Human connection is most important than what we may or may not have done, and that has brought to us today to this occasion actually. Now, what I try and want to do in about 20 minutes, I want to keep really all of 10 minutes to Q&A, but even the 20 minutes, I can't preach something and not practice it, right? This can't be a session that I do a monologue of without knowing each one's perception of it, how you are reacting to it, and have you participate in this actually. And for that reason, there are about, I see 45 of you who are logged in here. It is very hard to probably do with 45 people an audio interaction. But if you can be active on the chat window within the within this Google Meet, that would be great. And these are very quick kind of questions, like a poll or something like that, so that we are able to answer and have some of your thoughts also come in, actually. So my topic is largely around how do we usually engage in enterprise IT organizations when we are about to go and build a system, the business, and what should our approach be and what should our approach not be. And I think the title itself kind of mentions what it should be and what it should not be. And I'll share my screen with the slide set. My slide sets are really cue points for us to have this interaction versus actually, provide you a lot of information. Actually have you, for that matter, interact and provide such information. So having said that, let me first share my screen. And let me know if it is visible. Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. What could be hard is probably okay. So I'll switch back between the chat and the slide set. I want us to comment with maybe 1 or 2 words when you are embarking on a project. And let's assume actually it could be any kind of project. It could be an IT application build, it could be a mobile application build, it could be a product build, it could be putting a flyover from point A to point B. It's a product at the end of the day, right? For somebody's usage. The key word that I'm asking for as who do you identify as your stakeholders for the project? And put some words, who are the parties that you would call as stakeholders, actually. And use the chat, please, if you can. Perfect. Mitesh says client. Can I have a few more participants, please? Stakeholders in the context of this project to come to success eventually. Okay, students, employees, alumni, customer and client are similar. Okay. Employers, okay. Anyone whose interests are affected. That's a very good one, Shrikar. Parents, fair enough. Investor, okay. Okay, so I think we have a good mix there. So I want to classify, and there is no right or wrong answer in that, actually. I want to classify my stakeholders when I am embarking on a project as, first of all, end users. When you put together a flyover from A to B, the end users are the drivers of the automobile or the riders of the bikes and the motorcycles. If there is no pedestrian walk, then pedestrians are not the end users. So having a clear clarity for your product, who are the end users, is going to be very important. So if you are embarking on a project where you're building a web applications, who are the end users? Is this application for booking sales for an organization? If so, it is sales analysts. Maybe not sales analysts, actually, really the people who are order takers of the sales. So knowing that and defining who are the end users and identifying them is going to be very, very important. The second thing is, I think someone put this in the chat. There are many different words used for it. Who is your executive sponsor? Who is actually writing a check off of their budget for this project to be executed? And then somebody said it very rightly in the chat, all parties affected. So if you take out end users and sponsors, then you're looking at all other parties that are likely to be affected. It could be you will develop an application, it interfaces with a few other databases and a few other applications. And so the system support of those applications, it could be system owners of those applications. It could be adjacent processes in the organization that will get affected. All of these are other parties that will get affected. You can't bring out a project and say, I'm not worried about these other parties that interface with the new system that will come in. For instance, you can't put a flyover from point A to point B and be not worried about the landowners and the people that have to actually align to give their land to put together this flyover. Otherwise, your project will not be a success, actually, right? So end user, sponsors, and other parties, basically. So I want to put this in slideshow mode. Just some pointers here. End user is, what I'm stating here is who are not end users. End user is not one person. Most often, sometimes for a big project where application development can be for almost 6 months or so, one person gets assigned as end user. Unfortunately, you will most likely fail because one person will not be eventually using that application. So you need a representation, a bigger representation of the end users. End user is not the manager who manages or supervises the end users. He or she can't be that, actually. End user is typically not the sponsor. There can be possibility that sponsor is also the end user, but you still don't want to rely upon one person, actually. Most often, executive sponsor, like I said, is the person who pays for the initiative from their budget. And like I said, there are many other parties as stakeholders that exist, actually. Now, I want to go back to our interactive exercise one more time. If we choose each one of these, and let's just choose these three: end users, sponsors, and other parties. What are, and you can say stakeholder and their objective. You can say sponsor and their objective. I want us to be interactive about stating in the chat, what are the objectives for each of these parties? And when you say the objective, just say who it is for along with it, actually. Any chat messages with objectives for end users when a project is being undertaken? Client service, ease of use, wonderful. User friendly, wonderful. Investor profit, that's a good one. Product itself, I think the end product itself. Cost, yeah, something monetary basically. Okay. Satisfy their requirement, good one. End user quality, yeah. Service, yeah, a product could service a specific need in an industry or a specific domain. Yes, that's a good one. Okay, so again, time saver is a good one. Long life is a good one, depending on the type of product and the service that product is providing. So I'm now going to flash another screen. All answers again are right answers. So most often, end users worry about usability, user experience, and the primary task based on their job on a daily basis. It could be creation of a report which has certain metrics. It could be booking a sale on the system. It could be a specific health or a medical condition being attended to, depending on the kind of application. So again, I don't have to preach anybody here what is usability, user experience, and all that. Most often, as long as the application is intuitive for the end user to use with no fuss and bother, then it has the optimal level of usability. The times when an application was developed and 20 or 100-page manuals were written are long gone. I don't think the current generation ever would read up a manual to use an application. And so your application should be so intuitive, almost learn as you are clicking. That's how fast the world has come to be, actually. So keeping some of your thoughts as you are developing this project and engaging the end user about user experience, usability, and the primary deliverable is going to be very key. And some of you said, cost and price and things of that nature. So sponsor usually worries about financial goals. It could be return on investment. Most often, you don't get the return on investment on the first year. You usually break even after a couple of years, and then you start making or at least saving cost, if not making money. So that is usually the sponsor's objective. And the other parties do want to make sure they may not have a primary tangible deliverable, but it is yet important for the project to cover other parties so that none of their existing processes or way of working is compromised. And that is very important. You can't go in and build something and break 5 things actually that are working for other parties. That is a failure for the project actually. So that's about, we covered kind of stakeholders, objectives. And again, in the point that I'm emphasizing throughout the talk today is how it is important to engage heavily with the end users and all the stakeholders, so you know them and their problem statement really, really well is important before you start building something very, very beautiful from a technology perspective. So most often, although it is probably on a path of failure, people embark on technology initiatives. So we want to build state-of-art technology application using this platform because this platform has an amazing capacity or has these amazing algorithms and whatnot and all that. Is that actually the need for your end user is the key thing to figure out first, actually. Now, there is no shared exercise for this, but this is just a quick slide here. When you have engaged with all of the stakeholders, end user, sponsors, and other parties, and have understood their objectives, there will be deviation from one party's objective to other party's objective. And deviation is not 1 or 0. It is not binary. There can be a spectrum of deviation, actually. So bringing them together for a consensus building and having a shared vision for this project undertaking is very important. If you don't have it, then I think if you are either a project lead or a project manager or team member, you're going to be pulled in many different directions on every single day and every single week. And unfortunately, you'll be gaining ground and you would have a perception that you have gained ground and made some progress, but you would have gone 6 steps behind for some other stakeholder, actually. And so consensus building is a big exercise. It can take days sometimes, but it is an important exercise to go through, actually. Now, I'll at the end also mention that not every project may warrant a exercise like this, because you don't always do a project ground up. All of this sounds good for a really ground up project, but the important point is fabrics of this, and some fractional amount of each one of these exercises would still make sense as if it is a brand new project. It's very easy to actually walk away from this and say, this applies only for ground up clean slate projects, and we don't want to do this. I'm just adding a patch to one of the existing system. But what is that patch actually doing specifically is going to be key. Now, I want to go back to our interactive mode on the chat. If some of you can state what are the tools and techniques that can be used to have engage the business, engage the stakeholders. What have you heard of as tools and techniques, and get their objectives and things like that? SWOT analysis is a good one. Yeah. Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Yeah. Prompt delivery. Well, that's more an outcome. Survey is a very good one, actually. Survey gives you brainstorming. Yeah. Ethics. Ethics is more than a tool. It is probably a value that you follow in the project throughout. You stay with a higher moral ground on the project, having an ethical approach. That's a good one too, either way. So those are, there are some good ones. Yeah, feedback. Feedback is a very good one, Kiran. Actually, feedback loop. If you do not listen to your stakeholders, and actually just listening is not enough. If you listen, then you have to apply it and actually provide a feedback to the stakeholders as to whether it is going to be included in the project, and if it is not going to be included, why not? And it is again not included or not included. It could be in the spectrum where we have certain priority items already, and so this is going to be 6 months from now or 1 month from now, and it is in the product roadmap, and this is why it is deferred versus it is taken out of the list or not high on the list. Needs to be explained to the stakeholder. So that is feedback loop. Actually, review, discussion, value analysis, those are all really amazing ones actually. Yeah. Identifying our own weaknesses and overcoming it. Actually, yeah, that's a good exercise as a team exercise to do as a project team to see where are we. I think it's part of SWOT analysis actually. Again, like I said, there are no right or wrong answers. I'm just going to flash what I have on the list here. Again, no list is complete. So first and foremost, I think it is very important to start off in a project by providing and setting very right expectation. You don't want to be a yes boss kind of person as a project manager or a scrum master or a lead of this project, because you're trying to please every single stakeholder. Yes, you need to please the stakeholder. You don't need to be rude, but at the same time, precisely you need to set an expectation, and that's why that consensus building is important. And in that session, your stakeholders would know how their expectations are being met and when and in what capacity actually. Periodic communication, again, no brainer. I use the word called discovery process, and I have also have it here in bold, and we will talk about that in just a second. Throughout the project, quick demos and prototypes. You don't want to be in a cycle. I think we all know probably that the standard waterfall method where I gathered requirements and I built the system, and after 2 months or 3 months of building the system, I go back to the end users. Those days are gone. The 2 months, 9 out of 10 times is a waste, because you never engage throughout the process of development the end user. And that's why almost weekly demos with prototypes. I think the theme here is minimum viable product and fail fast. It's okay to fail with 2 days of effort versus 2 months of effort actually, and know that, okay, end user actually, while they said ABC, they did not mean ABC. By the way, there is nobody wrong in this. End user said in their language and you understood in your language. It takes two to tango, and so ABC was not translated as you put together your requirement as ABC. So who is at loss or who is really wrong is the project is suffering without making any progress. I was talking about listening and building the feedback loop. If you have this feedback loop, which is periodic with demos and prototypes and such, you get every party's buy-in throughout the process. And again, I don't need to highlight on providing help for adoption of the system, like hand-holding, training, guides, FAQs, and such. Again, these need, I specifically did not use the word manual. I also do not necessarily like the word guide. Guide is a little too big. Guide can end up being multiple pages. Nobody's going to read up. But quick FAQs and some training, because users are going to be on new systems actually. Now, I want to go back to our chat session. If some of you, I'm jumping into the topic of discovery process. What are the tools and tactics or techniques that are used in the discovery process? Again, just drop some words for the processes that could be used in discovery. Identify the new thought process. Any more? Demand and supply. Okay. Okay. Life cycle cost. Yeah. So let me, I have a slightly different ones here. Again, some of these words could be overwhelming, but note that anything is at the foundation of it really basic. We have all done this in one way, in one variety or the other. So storytelling, for instance, again, big word, but most often you just asking and interviewing an end user or a group of end users and asking them to tell a story as to how their day for running a specific process goes by. What happens at the end of the week? What happens at the end of the month? What are their typical accountabilities actually? And with that, if they are able to tell a story, then you are able to understand as if you are one of them actually. And that's the beauty of storytelling actually. Whiteboarding, brainstorming kind of go together. You encourage in these meetings typically that there is no silly question and anybody can and everybody should ask the status quo and ask the question of what if, why not, for instance, and things like that. Process flows. It's great to write stories, but once you have written those stories, because you are moving the problem statement, eventually what is the goal that we are all trying to achieve? We are taking the problem statement that's part of storytelling, which has a lot of words, into something that can be in a system that can solve that problem. And there are 10 different steps there. One of the first steps is to put that in a process flow with decision charts as to if this is what were to happen, yes, no, yes, I would do this, no, I would do that, and many different outcomes from there. So start drawing that process flow. There are some tools called as swim lane diagrams. Not every system necessarily lends to it. you basically assign every system, every party as an actor. Your end user is an actor, stakeholder is an actor, your system is an actor, other system that you interface is an actor, and you list them, and then you see how the process flows and draw across the swim lanes, basically. Again, in the world of online, with Google and all, you will be able to look up a lot of this. Wireframing, again, nothing but drawing pencil sketches of your initial, how a specific screen or an application would look like, and how would you transition from one page to another page. Wireframing is nothing but pencil sketches, by the way. There are tools that you could use that actually make it look like pencil sketching, but wireframing is another big one. And then knowing for each one of these, what are the key result areas and key metrics, actually. So it's important to put together those things, actually. So I'll jump into a couple other and then open up for question and answers. But you start getting the theme here. As you can see, if we are able to talk about this in an interactive mode for 15-20 minutes, even at 40,000 feet, there is a lot that actually needs to be done when a project needs to be undertaken in terms of discovery process, engagement with the stakeholders, identifying the stakeholders, and actually work business backward, as in what the business problem is, and work backwards versus think of technology and move forward, actually. It's important in any product discovery process to go through a market research. Are you actually developing a brand new product, or are you bringing up a specific feature that actually trumps over all other existing products, or anywhere in that spectrum? Validating stakeholder assumptions. And then I wanted to also highlight what are the risks of not doing this. There is going to be usually 3 or 4 of those. There may be more, actually. Usability risk, viability risk, not enough ROI. Your sponsor stakeholder is going to be after you saying, hey, I'm not seeing any ROI on this one, actually. We spent so much on this. Value risk, it doesn't add any value to the end user. End user is not able to save even 5 or 10 minutes of their time from what they used to do before to this. You can't bring in a system, and if they were spending on a specific task 2 hours and they end up spending 2 hours, it can go to 2.5 hours initially, but after the learning curve, it should actually reduce. And so they don't see value. Feasibility risk, that the team that you really put together is not going to be able to deliver this on time and on budget. So really, that's all I have. I wanted to just touch upon the tip of the iceberg when you undertake a project, where I think the key point I would say here is it is more listen and apply versus actually take a lot of airtime. I think one thing that different cultures can be is that there is a huge thrust on, I need to be prepared and I need to be able to take the airtime and ask questions and ask questions and ask questions and be kind of expert in the area when I'm trying to build a system. Unfortunately, you shouldn't be an expert in the system building exercise. If you come with the curiosity of, why is this person even asking me to build a system, and I want to listen and understand what are his problems, you'll be able to find the solution much easier. Your skills are, and when I say yours, and I'm talking enterprise IT here, I'm talking product development here. It could be for anything for that matter. So your skills are core to probably coding, integration, interfacing, data and analytics, and things like that. And for instance, if someone is putting together a freeway, his skills are putting together the freeway and not actually knowing what the motorist would do on the freeway, actually the end users would do on the freeway. So for instance, so having said that, that is all I have. I really want to open out for any questions that maybe. I also know that we are at the top of the hour, at least here in India it is 7:30, and it's Friday evening. We want to be sensitive to the time for everybody, and thank you very much, TGB, for giving me this opportunity, and very happy to answer any questions actually. And if you want to post, if there are any questions on the chat, I'm open to answer them there also. Or if you put the question on the chat, I'll answer them over audio. That's also fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a wonderful session. I have one query, sir.
Sure.
Sir, for this one, the feedback is the best tool for this one, or the discussion is the best one?
So, Mitesh, I think it's not mutually exclusive. You can actually do both, but it depends on the
Okay.
project as well as the specific context within the project. So let's say you're going through a situation where it is in flight in the project, and you have certain questions and you want to solicit feedback from multiple parties, and maybe it is a little bit of a sticky topic, and so you want to solicit maybe anonymously. So you can run an anonymous survey and you get the feedback, and you are able to collate them together and see where the stakeholders mind stays. And then you can follow up with a discussion, knowing very well each one's probable biases coming into the meeting, and be ready to moderate accordingly. You don't want them to come into a discussion and fight with each other, and that's why you run a pre-survey actually. So there are many tactics that could be used. I think you are also bringing in, I can't help but go into the point where most often there are some sensitivities in project, any project. We are all human at the end of the day, right? There will be some personality challenges. There will be some who would want a certain objective to be met no matter what, and things like that. And making sure every stakeholder is covered is the task of the project lead or the project manager. So I wouldn't say it is one or the other. It may be just one on a specific context. It could be both in combination and in a specific order actually.
Yeah, actually, why I ask this, sometimes in the feedback and survey, we are not getting actually what they're giving. Sometimes some people give random negative feedback also. So that was the reason I asked that we can go for the direct discussion, because even in some surveys also, we'll not get the exact what is required, because some fake values also will be there. So that was the reason was my question. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And Mitesh, I think one important point there is, even in surveys, right? If you make the surveys where they can enter free text, and if you want to avoid that, there are places where you want free text in surveys where people are able to enter information and actually write that out. But if you think you are likely to get unnecessary negative feedback, you can make surveys, you can design surveys very objectively, where they have radio buttons and only the select answers they should choose from. So you can contain them to not go on the path of text where they are likely to write negative action. But again, I'm not saying there is a solution necessarily for everything. There people find ways to beat through anything. But yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for valuable.
No worries. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Do you think training before feedback would solve the issue? Well, I think, Kiran, you're asking the question, do you think training before feedback would solve the issue? The way I see it is, training is once you have almost developed the system, not necessarily it is ready for release, but before they are about to adopt the system. But feedback is way upfront in the project lifecycle, where you are even trying to understand what's the system that we are trying to build for you. And so I'm getting that feedback from you as a stakeholder or an end user. So I think these are two different ends of the spectrum in the project lifecycle.
Any other questions? Oh, I think we can wind up. Vinay, thank you very much for your time joining us early morning in the US.
No worries, no worries. Thank you, thank you.
Sharing your knowledge and expertise in business approach in IT consulting. It was a different session altogether, where you made our staff members to involve and interact with your questions and answers. So it's a pleasure to have you today, Vinay. And I thank all the authorities, starting from Principal Secretary or Commissioner, Director, and of TT, and other officials, and all the staff members who have joined. And I extend this heartfelt thanks to today's speaker, Mr. Vinay, the guest from US, for sharing his knowledge and expertise with us. And I also appreciate your time and insights, Vinay. Thank you all for your attention, and I thank all each and everybody for your attention and making this event a successful one. Once again, I would like to thank each and everyone who joined this virtual session and made this AROHAN a successful one. Vinay, once again, thank you for all, and please share your contact details so that if they have any questions, still if they want to get in touch with you regarding any sort of clarification, they can always they can approach you. Since I have that liberty, since we are classmates at PU and high school level, so it's nice to hear you after a long time, especially this kind of presentations. We used to have a regular chats. Anyway, this was more useful one presentation, a different one. So once again, thank you, Vinay, for your time, and have a great day. So bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, TGB, and thanks everyone for a very patient hearing. And good. Have a good evening.
Thank you all. So I will signing off now. Thank you.
Bye.